Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live, so Ask the Physio. My name is Emily and I am Head of Pilates and Physiotherapy here at Katie Bell Physiotherapy and Wellness. And we are ready to help you here at our clinic based on Ecclesfield Road South. We're very excited to be hosting a regular live with the physio video each week. And the reason we do this is that so often that we hear people are too busy, the work is too frantic, that we're all over the place and I just can't fit physio in, and as a result your health suffers. So we decided to bring physio to you. During the session it's a great opportunity for you to ask us questions on injuries or just advice. What should I be doing, how do I get the best out of my movement, and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions and give you as much help as possible. And we'll be giving you some great tips, exercises and advice as we go along. I would say do remember that all the advice we give here is based on the questions you've asked and no prior assessment has taken place. If there's further action that's required, we will recommend it if this is not the place or the platform for us to help you out. So let's get started. I've got a few questions here today, but if you've got anything you want to ask as we go along, feel free to add that into the comments and we'll do our best to answer all the questions. So the first question I got today is from Susie, and she asked, I twisted my ankle the other night walking the dog in the woods. It's sore to stand on and is bruised. I've tried using frozen peas for swelling. What else should I do? Okay, so Susie, there's a few things that I should probably ask you before we go any further. Seeing bruising and have your foot being sore after going over it on the woods is really understandable and really normal. Any degree of little twist and kind of pull into those tissues can create swelling and bruising and be very uncomfortable, and unfortunately twisted ankles and strained ankles can last for quite a while. They can feel that they don't settle down for 6 to 8 weeks. And that's fairly normal as long as we're seeing some progression and some good management. Now, there's a few things I would ask you then. First of all, how extensive the bruising is and where is it? Most people find if you've gone onto your ankle, if you say this was the outside of your ankle and you stood on your foot and you went over onto the outside edge, that outside blade of your foot, you'll probably find that the swelling is maybe coming down your ankle and then tracking along the side of the foot. And that's a very normal pattern and presentation for that. And the reason it tracks down your foot is just gravity. It just kind of seeps down and kind of moves along to the lowest point. So if you sat at a desk all day, say you're wearing high heels, it's going to track down in towards your toes. So that is what we would expect. The only thing I would be asking you is if that swelling is very extensive, if that bruising is very extensive, and you said on here it's sore to stand on. So can you actually stand on your foot? Can you stand in single leg stand? So can you stand just on, you haven't put here which foot it was, so say it was your right foot. Can you stand on your right foot? Do you feel like that ankle is unstable or it's going to give way? Is the pain very severe and limiting when you stand on your foot? Because if it is, I would be also asking if you're getting in, did you hear any clicks or pops or cracks as that happened? The likelihood is you probably haven't fractured anything, but if you have severe bruising, you cannot stand on your foot, it feels unstable, I would maybe go and get that checked out and maybe go to A&E or walk-in centre and get that looked at. Just because if you have either ruptured the ligaments completely, so if you've got very severe bruising and very extensive swelling, or if you've maybe created a small fracture or something in your foot, that does need more acute medical management. If, however, it's just a little bit of bruising and you feel like, no, I can stand on my foot, it's just sore, it's uncomfortable, I prefer not to, but it's not unstable, it's just swollen, I don't think I need any further input, I would advise you the following things. So first of all, you want to make sure that that sensation and the circulation appearance in your foot remains normal. So if you notice any changes in the coming weeks, if you suddenly feel like your foot's going a funny colour or you're feeling sensation has really changed in your foot, again, that would be when I'd reappraise that and go, right, back off to get some medical attention for that. If it is just very swollen and bruised and it's just an acute little strain of the ankle, I would personally be going contrast bathing. Frozen peas is great because they do mould around the foot, it's convenient, you can pop them in and out of the freezer as long as nobody's going to try and cook with them. But my preference would be contrast bathing. It is a little bit of a nuisance to do, and I know that it's a bit more time consuming. And contrast bathing is where you get two bowls of water, and you might like to start in this very acute stage with just cold water, and then as you get to sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, you might like to switch to your contrast bathing. So you're going to fill a bowl, so when you're doing just your straight ice bathing, bowl or bucket full of water, nice and cold, some ice in there, and then when you do contrast bathing, you need a bowl of cold icy water and then hot bath temperature. So it shouldn't be so hot that you couldn't sit in a bath comfortably at that temperature. So if you're just doing the ice bathing, you're going to pop your foot in. Should take no more than 5 to 10 minutes. And the great thing is, if you fill the water up above the ankle, you're going to cover all the surfaces of the foot. So you're going to be more effective with your icing and get more out of it, and actually going to see a better, faster recovery. When you get to that sort of what we call your subacute phase, where you've not got that very, very swollen, active phase, which it sounds like you're still in from what you're saying, if it was only literally the other night, say maybe over the weekend or anything like that, I would then stay with ice and then move into contrast bathing. So if you're doing contrast bathing, you're going to alternate between the two. You're going to start with the warm, do a minute in that, then go into the cold, do a minute of that, alternate through those, and you can do that anything between 4 and 8 times through. Make sure you finish with the cold, and then you can also, whilst your foot's in the water, do some nice plantar flexion, so pointing down, lifting up, turning in and out, really, really gentle. You're not trying to force through that range, you're just trying to create movement there. I'd also make sure you get your foot elevated. You could potentially, if it's very, very swollen and it's not uncomfortable, you could look at a compression sock just to help with that circulation and stop that ankle continually puffing up throughout the day. But it just depends how sore it is. Sometimes the compression socks are really, really stiff, and to get them on actually then causes more discomfort. I'd also be encouraging you, if it's safe for you to do so, to take some regular anti-inflammatories or pain relief to help you move as normally as possible. The main thing is we get the swelling down, we get your pain managed, we get your range maintained, and then as you start to feel more comfortable, just short walks. Try not to be on your feet for too long, but at the same time, keep weight bearing. It's going to help. As you weight bear into your foot, the forces, so the ground reaction force comes through the ankle and it actually helps heal the direction, the line of those tissues that have been torn. When you feel ready, that those are settling down, your pain is well managed, you feel more comfortable, you can maybe start by doing some simple balance exercises, just standing on that foot, sending all that information, preferably in bare feet, maybe starting on a hard floor, working onto a carpeted or floor and then a cushion, so you're getting more and more instability. Doing some little knee bends, so single leg stand, I'll show you what I mean from here. So if I can angle that down a little bit more. Okay, so I'd be standing just on one leg and then doing little knee bends here. So it's going to stimulate the stability all the way up through my leg. But yeah, in this acute phase, get on top of that icing. My preference as a physio, I'd advise contrast bathing or ice bathing. Just this really effective, really, really quick, kind of fast acting relief. I hope that helps, but as I said, if you've got any of those more kind of sinister, worrying signs that I talked about at the beginning, please go and get it checked out. Great, okay. So, next question that I've got here is from Simon. He asked, I'm training for the Sheffield Half Marathon, which must be, is it only like 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away now? It's in mid-April now. So I'm training for a Sheffield Half Marathon and sticking to my training plan. I have noticed my right hip gets tight towards the end of a run. By the end of a 9-mile run, I feel like it extends down into my foot. What's wrong and how do I fix this? Okay, Simon, well, it sounds like you're doing really well, getting to those 9 miles. It's really important that you sound like you're building up those mileage and that you're kind of getting ready for that 13 plus miles. Couple of things here. This may just be mechanical. It may just be a bit of a muscle imbalance that's kind of gripping, and then you're starting to get a bit of tightness around that hip. But the one question I would ask you, the fact you're saying you're finding it's extending down your leg, I would just wonder whether or not you've got any neural involvement, and it's just a check. You might be absolutely fine, you might not have any back issues, it might not be coming from your back at all, but we know that with prolonged standing, walking, running, what happens is that over time, so if you imagine my hands are, I'll put them like this, the different joints in your spine, and the gap you can see between my hands is your disc. If over time you are repeatedly, say for your run, and you've got this bounce, bounce, bounce being transferred through, which is what we would expect to happen, if you have got any compression like disc pain or neural pain, that is going to continually press onto that nerve, and sometimes actually we can compress over time. Whereas on a day-to-day basis, when you're just walking around or maybe doing your day job, you don't notice these symptoms, but when you're running long distances and often the other thing that happens when people are training is that they're doing more running than they would normally, you may find that it could be compression. So I'd be asking you, that pain, that extension down your leg, is it an altered sensation? Does it feel like pins and needles, numbness, or any kind of bizarre sensations? Does it affect, is it how far down your leg is it going? So my question there would be, maybe you do need to come and see a physio and just get checked out to make sure that you haven't got it coming from your back. And obviously, we can help manage with that. We can help you adapt around that. So, you don't feel like you have to give up your running, but certainly if it is neural, you need to see somebody to get it sorted out. On the other hand, it might be both of these things, but potentially it could just be what we'd call a mechanical issue. Now, quite often around the hip, so when you step onto your leg, so when you're running along, I'm going to stand up here again. So say as I run along here and I land here onto my right hip, your body has got to use its core and the strength and coordination around the front, back and sides of the pelvis to align the pelvis. So when you're running for long periods of time, obviously you're going to get tired, and if these muscles around here and in your core don't have the endurance and the stability, what happens is you start to either drop through that hip or roll down into your knee, and I appreciate that I'm exaggerating here. And that actually then changes the length and the tension transferring all the way through the body. So a few things that you need to do. Let's first of all get on top of that pain. It might be that before you go out running, you need to do specific stretches around the hip, maybe get your spiky ball out, so one of these little balls or a massage ball. I personally, if you're saying out into the hip, there's a couple of places I would release. I'd release into my lower back, which I know you said it's your hip, but if you're a bit tight in your back, what that does is it almost draws up the pelvis. So if you imagine I'm tight here, that means you're going to have to work against that with your hip. You might be overworking through that. So I'd massage into the lower back, going into the wall. So I'll move the camera slightly so you can come and see us here. Okay, so I would bring the ball in between my back and the wall, and then I would work not into the spine, just into that soft area. So I'm working all into this corner and not over the middle here. And I'd be working in and out, left and right, working into there to see if I can find some areas of tension. The other point I would go into is literally where you're feeling the pain. So as long as it's not on the rim of the pelvis, so on the actual hip joint, I would pop into there and roll forwards and backwards. Now it might be the other thing that you're getting down into the side there, might be a little bit of an irritation of the bursa. It might be a little bit swollen and inflamed, and you might need to do some release and stretches to reduce the tightness, which might be compressing the structures around the hip. So I'd be massaging around this rim here, just being aware that there might be a hot spot there. If it does feel more down towards the joint, then that could be more bursa, so I'd step nice and high into that muscular area. You could also go right into the centre of your bottom, so popping the ball in between your bottom and the wall and just having a little glide left and right, and that's going to help reduce down that tension. I would also be looking, so if you were to book in to see me, I potentially would be looking at the stability around the pelvis. So have you got the power there? Have you got the endurance there? I would also be looking at that line down through the leg. And we have some deep fascial lines that run all the way through the body. And some of them run right from the top of your head, all the way down through the trunk, through the hip, and all the way into the leg. And it might be potentially that some of that's a bit sticky and tight, and with some glides and some release work, that might feel much better. So, plan for you, Simon. I want you to massage, as long as you're not feeling neural symptoms. Give this a go first of all. If it doesn't work, please book in. I would massage around the lower back, around the hip and into the glutes. Before you go out on a run, I would stretch out your hips, so 4 stretch, so making the number 4 with your legs. The side, that we can do it on both sides, but particularly focus on this side. Nice little stretch out, so I've got my leg crossed over, I can just gently support that knee and sit up nice and tall. That should create a stretch into the hip. I might then prefer to bring that knee across towards the opposite shoulder. And then I'd also stretch out front and back of the hip, so hip flexors, hamstrings, and just see whether or not there's an area that feels particularly sticky and tight compared to the other side. Before you go out running, I personally, if you've got a bit of tightness here on the hip, I'd be doing some single leg work here, just like an activation. So standing on this side, little up with the knee, see if I can keep that stability there. And then lastly, with my hamstring, I'll be able, if you can see that there, little heel kicks towards my bottom, getting that back line there, supporting, because if this is tight and is drawing round through here, then you're not going to fire off as well down the leg and into the hip. So give those a go. If that's not working for you, or you feel that you're still not quite right and you want to make sure that we don't waste all that training that you've done for the half marathon, then do book in and we'll see if we can get you a little bit of a program put together. I hope that helps. Okay, so we've got time for one more question, and we're going to answer a question here from Fiona. Fiona asked, and I love this question, every physio I speak to me tells me good posture is important. And I understand it is probably good for me, but why is that? Okay, Fiona, yeah, physios often do want to kind of talk about posture and talk about alignment. Hey James, thank you for your question. I'll shout out to you in just a second once I've answered Fiona's question. So Fiona, posture, yes, it is important. The reason for that is when we have what we call optimal alignment, i.e. so for example our spine is stacked in a lovely smooth curve rather than overly arching or slumping, what happens at a deep level around what we call our inner core, our primary sling, or what you may just generically usually gets referred to as core stability, those muscles can actually fire more efficiently. So just by coming into a good position, so a nice long spine or shoulders connected back, or pelvis into that neutral. So we talked to Pilates classes about tucking the pelvis to neutral, so not being overly arched or overly tucked and slumped. That way you can actually, just by being in that position, the muscles are going to switch on more effectively. Those ones that you're not conscious of, those deep muscles that bring stability and support around the body. So for me, I'm kind of like, great, perfect. If someone can help me just switch things on more effectively without having to do lots of exercises or have to think too much about it, I'm going to get more out of my body. Now, the other reason that posture is important is that not only, excuse me, when things are, your joints are in their optimal alignment or their neutral alignment, does a deep stability muscles able to switch on more efficiently and effectively. The other thing is we think about wear and tear. So if your joints are maybe slightly off, or you're kind of working more into one corner than the other, then I would potentially you may be potentially causing an increased friction on one part of the joint, which obviously could long term lead to wear and tear and joint pain. So that's the reason why we always talk about it. It's gonna make your body just be more efficient and get those stability muscles just switching on automatically, which we love, but also it's going to help prevent wear and tear. I hope that helped. Okay, one last question. I can fit one last one in. James says, hey Emily, what's a good stretch for an achy lower back, please? Okay, so James, I assume you're talking about this sort of region all the way down here. Okay, if that's the case, couple of exercises that you could do. First of all, coming against a wall, I'm going to turn this, I don't know if you can see my back here, I'd be looking at doing some roll backs into the wall and then holding, keeping that connection there, and see if I can just support with the core, tuck the tailbone under, and see if I can just open up the back. I then bring my hands to my head or across my chest, and from here I do some little side bends, so coming across, looking for a stretch all the way down into the lower back. It's a really nice supported way. Now I've got a little desk next to me which the camera's on, so if I was struggling to hold this, I could side bend across and then lean down into that hand, so I've got some support. So I'm not having to just dangle here, I've actually can support myself and it helps me come back up. I'm going to turn the camera just very slightly to the bed. Okay, so the last one that I would probably advise you to do, hopefully you can see me here, which is a really lovely one, would be to go into my shell stretch. So into hands and knees, I would tuck my tailbone gently under and reach my hands away. If you are particularly stiff and tight into one side of your back, so let's say left side, I would take my hands to the right hand side, reaching my left hand away and creating some length all down the left hand side of the body. Nice big stretch there, and then coming back through again. If you are achy into your lower back and you don't have any, I know you, James, but if you don't have any sort of disc issues or neural issues, doing some soft tissue massage work like we said for Simon would also really work. But yeah, this one against the wall, tucking under, side bending, creating a stretch there, and then coming into your shell stretch and really reach those fingertips away, make lots of length through your spine. I hope that helps, James. I hope your back feels a little bit better soon. I'm afraid we're all out of time for today. And thank you very much for joining us on our Facebook Live days. We will be back again for another live, so please come back, do pop questions. If you look on our Facebook page, we've got lots. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, James. Yeah, if you do have any questions for our next session, if you look on our Facebook page and look for the Ask the Physio Live, you can put your questions in there and we'll get the answers prepped for you. If there's anything you did want to ask today and you didn't get time to, or you kind of think, oh, I wish I'd asked now and then going, yeah, just pop it in the questions. We'll either respond to it next time or we'll send you an email. If in the meantime you need any help, and for those guys that we've talked about some of your questions today, if you want to book in any appointments, please look at the links below, or you can email us at hello@katiebellphysiotherapy.com, and the team will be there to help you. Okay, have a great day everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.